Victims of a serial killer, but their families say it's the police who have blood on their hands. Stephen Port was the murderer.
Stephen, did you have any involvement in his death?
But repeated police errors meant he was allowed to kill and kill again. Now the Metropolitan Police is to be investigated over the way it handled the murders of 4 men for a second time.
We have identified evidence that meets both significant new information and material flaw categories, and we believe that a thorough yet proportionate new investigation is appropriate.
Emergency ambulance, what's the address of the emergency?
Cook Street is a young boy.
Police knew about Stephen Port from his first killing. He made the 999 call.
Do you know if he was breathing?
No, I don't know.
The chef from Barking lied from the start. Meeting his victims online, he'd take them to his flat. Once inside, he'd spike their drinks with lethal doses of the date-rape drug GHB. His first victim was the fashion student Anthony Walgate. Soon after, another body was discovered just 400 metres from Port's flat. It was Gabriel Kovari. And just 3 weeks after that, Daniel Whitworth was found in the same place. His final victim was Jack Taylor. At their inquests, a jury found police failures were likely to have contributed to the last 3 deaths.
Stephen Port murdered those young men, but the jury at the inquest found Gabriel and Daniel and Jack needn't have died if they'd just done their job. So I agree with the families and their solicitor that the police have blood on their hands.
John Pape was a friend of Gabriel Kovari and was ignored by police when he tried to tell them something wasn't right.
The level of incompetence is so sort of disturbing, really, and I think the only thing that explains it is prejudice.
It's all 3 of them found in near enough the same spot in the graveyard.
The case and the police failures were dramatised in a 3-part BBC series.
I think my son's been murdered.
You can't stop saying that.
Every gay person who expressed concerns about these deaths was ignored, dismissed and treated with contempt by the police. That is institutional police homophobia.
Did you kill Jack Taylor?
Did not know.
Port is serving life, but none of the 17 police officers have ever faced misconduct charges. Rags Martel, ITV News.
Well, Jack Taylor was the last of Port's victims, and his sisters have fought tirelessly for justice ever since. I spoke to them a little earlier and started by asking what they made of this new investigation.
Well, of course, we're happy that it's being reopened because we've been fighting this from the very beginning, and the findings that were first found obviously were wrong. So, yeah, we are happy.
Well, you sat through the entire trial and you saw the failings that occurred in the lead-up to your brother's death and subsequently. And the original IOP investigation said no officer had a case to answer for misconduct or gross misconduct. Considering the work that you had to do on your brother's behalf, how did you feel when those first findings came to light from that investigation?
Well, we was absolutely disgusted that no police officers were held accountable. Considering we sat through the trial and we sat through the inquest every day, we heard all the failings and all the missed opportunities, everything that the police didn't do, should have done. We just couldn't believe it, and to find out that Jack should still be here, could have been saved, yet nobody's been held accountable at the moment, is just disgusting. 7 years on is disgusting.
And Donna, considering the results, that the behaviour of the Met Police in this investigation, the findings of the original IOPC investigation, do you feel confidence, any level of confidence in this new investigation?
It's really hard to have confidence in anyone with authority, to be perfectly honest with you, because nobody through the very beginning of this has stood up and been counted. Nobody's actually listened, acknowledged, and it's like no one cares. So, yeah, we'd find it really hard to have the confidence, but we hope that all that keeps happening is lessons being learnt. Well, hopefully the IOPC have learnt one and they'll turn this around.
And privately, when you've spoken to senior Metropolitan Police officers regarding this case and regarding Jack, what sort of response have you had from them on a personal one-to-one level regarding their behaviour?
We haven't. It's as if they just don't care. We haven't had a response. We've had the word sorry chucked in our direction, but followed by in hindsight. So that's not an apology in our eyes.
It's almost like it's a forced apology, like they have to be saying something.
Do you think that it was down to bigotry or ineptitude when it came to the way in which this case was handled regarding the Metropolitan Police?
So we definitely feel there's discrimination, and we definitely feel that there is homophobia. 100% we sat there throughout the whole inquest, and certain things that were addressed, or should have been addressed, the information that came out is very clear that there was discrimination. It's very clear that there was homophobia. So, yes.
And some of these officers have been promoted since the failings were highlighted in the court case regarding your brother. How then do you feel about that?
They get promotion and we get to live as a family in hell, heartbroken every day, still fighting for justice, still fighting for somebody to stand up, like I said, and be candid. So, yeah, it's horrific, it's devastating, it's heartbreaking to think that this can even happen.
And we just wish that certain people could put themselves in our shoes that should be held accountable, and put themselves in mum and dad's shoes if they've got children, to understand what they've put us through and what we're going to have to deal with for the rest of our lives.
Oh, Donna and Jen, it really does break my heart to hear you speak, but the fact that you were fighting on behalf of your brother Jack still is just truly honourable. Ladies, thank you so much for talking to us this evening.